Hello there, I'm Ronipe, and in this video I'll be talking about all the gimbal modes of the Zhiyun Crane M3. So there are 7 gimbal modes in the Zhiyun Crane M3. They are pan follow, lock, follow, POV, go, vortex, and portrait. So before we talk about the 7 gimbal modes, it's important for us to understand what each of the 3 axes of this gimbal does. So the first one, we have the tilt axis. So the tilt axis simply is in control of the tilting upwards and downwards motion of the gimbal. Tilt axis, tilt up, tilt down. So the next axis is the roll axis. So what the roll axis does is to keep your camera level with the horizon. So even if I move sideways or backwards and forwards, my camera is more or less level to the horizon. And the last one is the pan axis. So what the pan axis does is control the sideways motion of the gimbal. So if I move left, move right, bring the camera to the left, bring the camera to the right, it will be the pan axis doing the work. So now that we know what each of the 3 axes does, we can now talk about the different gimbal modes. So basically, each mode is just the gimbal assigning different control levels to each of the axes. So as the name suggests, it follows your pan or your sideways motion. So look at the gimbal now. If I move it to the left, the camera will follow. If I move it to the right, the camera will also follow. So it works this way as well. To the left, the camera will face the left. To the right, the camera will face the right. So it only follows the movements on the pan axis. So for the tilt axis, nothing is happening. So if I move it upwards, it's still facing forward. If I move it downwards, it's still facing forward. So the roll axis is also not followed in this mode. So you see, if I swing it sideways, it stays the same. The camera still faces forward. So in the lock mode, the camera will not follow any of the movements. So if I move it to the left, the camera still faces forward. If I move it to the right, the camera still faces forward. So it does not follow your pan movements. It does not follow the tilt axis either. So if I move it upwards, still facing front. Move it downwards, still facing front. It's locked. It does not follow the rolling motion either. So there is no motion followed in any of the axes. So the next one is the follow mode. In this mode, the gimbal will follow both the panning and the tilting motions. So pan to the left, pan to the right, the camera follows. And then tilt up, the camera will face upwards too. Tilt down, the camera will face downwards. So for the roll, nothing happens. It still tries to keep the camera level. So the next one is the POV mode. In this mode, the gimbal will try to follow the motion along all 3 axes. So you have the pan, left to right, tilt, upwards, downwards, and also the roll. So it's no longer trying to keep the camera on the same level as the horizon. The go mode is actually just the same as the follow mode. It follows the pan movements and the tilt movements. but it engages the motors more strongly. So the shift is faster. So if you move to the left, delay is less. Compare that to the follow mode. In the go mode, it's almost simultaneous. So in the vortex mode, the tilt axis will be locked to 90 degrees upwards. You cannot control the tilt of the gimbal. You can pan it, you can roll it, but you cannot tilt. Anywhere I move it, the tilt axis is locked. So what can we do with this? We can adjust the pan to make circular motions. So like this. So that's one of the main uses of the vortex mode. Okay, Portrait mode is simply allowing you to film videos with a vertical aspect ratio, maybe for TikTok, for Reels, for IG stories. So portrait mode, it goes like this, and to film you have to hold the main body of the gimbal parallel to the ground. So here, like this, you will be able to film vertical videos. And there's an 8th bonus mode. Well, it's not actually a gimbal mode, but it's just a change of the point of view. So I call it the selfie mode. So we have to click on this button 3 times, and then the camera will be facing us. So the selfie mode works with all the first 5 modes: the pan follow, lock, follow, POV, and go. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. If you did, please give this a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So to put it back to the front-facing view, you click on this button 3 times as well. Yeah, so that's it. I hope you have a better understanding of how the Zhiyun Crane M3 and most other gimbals work. And also, if you want to check out these products, I have links in the description below. So yeah, that's it. See you again in another video. Until then, bye.